Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Digital Mittelstand. My name is Can and I help small and medium businesses, so Mittelstand, to overcome their digital transformation challenges. Today I have Robert Lüders with me. Robert is an Agile coach in the DKB Bank and also he is the founder of AgileUP. Without any further ado, let's move into the conversation. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Robert, as you already mentioned. I'm a Scrum Master at DKB. I'm working there in a big digitalization project, and also I'm self-employed as a trainer and consultant, as an Agile coach.
Yeah, so you are living the Agile lifestyle. Can I say it like this?
That's the only lifestyle I know. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, thank you. But Agile is a very commonly used word. And as an Agile expert or Agile master or someone living the Agile lifestyle, can you please explain to us, to our audience from Mittelstand, what is Agile anyways?
That's actually a really good question because everybody's using the word and lots of people actually are not really sure what it's supposed to mean. So let's finish the buzzword. Agile, first of all, means being highly adaptive. So you have the chance to understand what's happening in your surrounding. You understand what that means for you, and you adapt to the situation and finding a solution. And to make this more obvious, let's do an example. Imagine you want to go from Berlin to Munich by car. And you're sitting in your car, it's summer, the window is open, the wind's coming into the car, you're listening to the radio, best song ever, and suddenly the music stops and you hear that there's a big crash on your motorway, so you might have to wait for 5 hours. So what you're gonna do? Do you gonna wait for the 5 hours or do you take another way?
Definitely take the other way.
Yeah, of course, right? So you adapt to the situation because something has changed. You know where you want to go, more or less, somewhere in Munich, but you adjust your approach to getting there. And that's what Agile is all about, to figure out what the best way could be to achieve your goal, but you change your approach to getting there.
Yeah, it is a rhetorical question, but I will still ask. Because why then Agile is important and necessary, although you have already perfectly answered this as well by the description, but I still want you to emphasize on that, why Agile is important, why it's necessary.
If you look at our world, it's changing really quickly. So circumstances are changing by the day. I think a really great example is, I'm not sure whether you've seen that, there's this chart telling you how many years it took a new invention to achieve 50 million users. I think the airplane took like 60 years, a car took 30, 40 years. And Pokemon Go, this app everybody was playing, it just took 19 days till 50 million users have been achieved.
Wow.
And I think it's a really great example on how quickly our world is spinning and how quickly you have to adapt to these new circumstances. And if you are a company making a plan for a year or 2 years, you believe that you can plan ahead that far in the future. But I mean, Corona is the best example, right? The pandemic is the best example. Who could have guessed 2 years ago that we will spend over 12 months, more or less, in a lockdown?
Yeah.
So all the plans which were made, well, they were garbage in the end. And that's the reason Agile is so important, because it says, all right, you need a vision, you need an idea where you want to go, more or less. And then you have to adapt on the way.
Yeah, but as far as I know, the methodology comes from software development. However, in the car example that you gave, or in the pandemic example that we have all faced globally, we can easily see that it's applicable to almost any kind of situation, including daily situations. But what I wanted to ask is why it's also crucial for Mittelstand.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. First of all, you already said Agile, it's coming from software development, but the principles behind it, they are actually way older. So there was a consultant from the US who went to Japan in the 50s and helped the economy to rebuild. And he invented the so-called Deming cycle. It's 4 steps you always repeat. You plan something, you act, you check, plan, do, check, act. Yeah, that's the right way to say it. You plan something, you do your plan, you check whether it worked out, and then you act on your feedback, on your results. And you're trying to reduce the cycle time to actually adjust really, really quickly. That was the idea in the 50s. And then in software development in the year 2001, it became so-called Agile. So the Agile Manifesto was invented. And why it is necessary for Mittelstand, to answer your real question now. The Mittelstand also is facing quite some challenges. So the idea is that you use Agile when you're in a complex environment. So an environment you can't plan ahead. If you are a producing company in Mittelstand, you don't have to use Agile when you can plan ahead. So it's not necessary. But for example, if you are developing a new product, if you are interested in getting into new markets, if you want to find out whether your product can solve a problem in a different market, then it is really, really important to use Agile, because otherwise you are sitting down on day A, making a huge big plan how to get into a new market, how to get this new customer, how to produce this new product. And you're sitting there on day B, on day C, on day D. And then you launch a product 3-4 years later just to find out there's not a market at all. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, thank you for the input. So you say when there is a market entry or a new product, which in a way you can be in the market, but if you launch a new product, nobody knows how that's gonna continue. Therefore, it is great to apply agile methodologies, so reduce the planning time and as quickly as possible going into doing and seeing the customer feedbacks, market feedbacks, adjusting accordingly. And if you think that's a bad decision, which might be, but understand it as quick as possible. So do I understand you correctly?
Completely right. Yeah, it's really important to spend most of the time outside and really experiment and try things out and reduce the amount of time spending on plans and in your office.
Yeah, and one interesting thing that you said, and it is about when you can plan ahead like 4 or 5 years, you know, this series of cars from the automotive producer will be produced in 2022, 23, 24, and you still can plan your own production. Let's assume that a Mittelstand from Baden-Württemberg is a tier 2 automotive supplier. Then they can plan their production accordingly. However, even with these midterm, so 2, 3, 4 years, we have seen that how the market is disrupted, for example, by electrical vehicles, for example, by autonomous driving, so the new technologies. So even in that case, maybe agile might be useful. Even if you can plan ahead, you might be spending a little bit of time experimenting. So that's also my takeaway from your highlights.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's always you always have to think about whether the future will change or won't change. To give an example, if you're producing wheels for a car, you can be sure that also electric cars will have wheels. But there might come a moment in history when somebody develops a new way on how to transport humans.
Yeah, flying cars, for example.
Flying cars, and suddenly you're waking up in a world where your $1 billion company isn't worth nothing anymore because nobody needs your beautiful reels. So you always have to think about how disruption could affect you and consider whether it's even better to disrupt yourself than letting someone else do it to you.
Yeah, I really liked your impression. Better to disrupt yourself than somebody else. And I think it's one of the key takeaways from this conversation today. Uh, thank you for that. But I was thinking in the lines that you gave also, even if you know that your products will be there is no guarantee to our current system, because I always give the Netflix example. Let's assume that you are a broadcaster in one of the Eastern European countries and you don't have a competitor because you are the biggest in the country. Next day, Netflix rolls out in 26 countries overnight. And now you have a worldwide giant competitor that you need to compete with, and you are not ready at all. Of course, in the wheel producer example, this is highly unlikely, but there are still things that we cannot predict, and Agile might come handy to implement as a let's say disruption training for your own. So that brings me to my next question. What could be some use cases of Agile for Mittelstand? We can take the automotive producers example, as you said, the market entry, so product entry. So how that concrete use case would look like when an Agile methodology applied?
The real interesting thing about Agile is that it is all about effectiveness. So we spent the last couple of years in our economy, and everybody was looking for efficiency. Everything had to be more efficient, more right. But effectiveness came quite short in lots of cases because everybody knew what they had to do. And now we're having this agile approach, which is first of all saying, let's do the right things. And secondly, let's do them right. And if the Mittelstand says, all right, we are really efficient in what we do, but we want to let's say develop a new product or find a new market to deliver to, then it's completely making sense to do the agile approach. And there you can choose in between different frameworks. So for example, you have to imagine if you're going to a supermarket. First of all, you find the vegetables when you get into the supermarket, and there you see some potatoes. You see what other vegetables do you see? Sweet potatoes, celery,
cabbage, pumpkin. I buy a lot of vegetables, so sweet potatoes. All of the lettuces, so all of these.
Perfect. So you see, you've got tons of different vegetables, but and overall they are the so-called vegetables. And with Agile, it's the same. So Agile is the higher category, and then you've got different frameworks lying underneath. You've got Kanban, you've got DevOps, and the most famous one, for example, that would be Scrum, like the potato. But the potato is, as a vegetable, it's Scrum for Agile. Yeah. And you can use Scrum to develop a new product, for example. And it helps you on how to organize yourself within a team, and how to develop something which is really effective, which is really meaningful, and not building something that nobody needs in a really efficient way.
Yeah, so you say that Mittelstand, let's say tier 2 automotive producer, will definitely produce a new product. And whenever a new product or a new market entry is considered, Agile methodology can be applied. But which roles then the company needs? What kind of people are these small teams in production or a big giant team? How does that work within the existing setup of a factory, for example?
You mean on how a Mittelstand company could start this venture?
Yes. For example, which roles do they need agile coaches? Do they need scrum masters, or their product managers can also take those roles, like wearing different hats? How that's gonna be looking like in an organizational approach?
First thing you need is, and that's the most important part, motivated people. People that are motivated to try something new and who are having the real mindset, the real approach when it comes to developing new products. So people who understood that it's way better to get outside and ask people than sitting the whole day inside and building your beautiful castle, which looks nice on paper, but isn't useful at all. That's the most important thing. And when you have that, you can say, all right, now we can look who we really need. So we need a person with a vision on what this new product should be capable of, what it should or could look like. And then if you have this person with a really strong vision and a drive to make this vision come true, then you can gather the motivated people you hopefully have in your company and build a team with them. And then you can get started. And right at the beginning, I always would recommend to get a Scrum Master, or if you work after Scrum, or to get an Agile coach to give you advice on how to start, because usually it feels a little bit like gravity. So you have this team which is really motivated, sitting in this rocket, leaving Earth, but on the way they figure out, well, maybe we didn't have enough fuel, and then gravity, which is the rest of the company, is pulling them back again. And the Agile coach can help this team on how to, well, fill the tank and get into the orbit, so this beautiful new product can fly around and yeah, open a new market maybe.
I like your example, and it fits to the logo of the digital Mittelstand, because I always believe that Mittelstand are very powerful in their industries. They are the market leaders, they are the innovation leaders, I can say it like this, in their technologies and in their production technologies. When combined with right methodologies, right digitalization strategies and technologies, then the possibilities are endless, like exploring other planets. That's why I choose this logo. And thank you for the rocket example, and I really liked it. So you say you can start with your own people, find who are motivated in your team, maybe find some passionate product managers who can drive this change forward. But then you might, in some point, and if I understand you correctly, the earlier the better, have an external agile coach or a scrum master to push this slightly further. So make sure that that's going. So is that correct, that I understand you?
Yes, completely correct. So for example, if I go to the supermarket to make a nice dinner for my girlfriend, I have two options too. So I can do tons of trial and error and start 20 tries on making a really nice dish, or I do some research before and ask a friend who knows how to cook really well, and he gives me a recipe and I follow the recipe right away and adjust it maybe a little bit. I save time if I do it the second way, and I save resources, of course. So it's well invested to get some help to learn right in the beginning how this cooking class could work for me.
Yeah, but it's a great point to ask, what does an agile coach do? Let's say we find the people, they are motivated, we found a product manager in our company that really wants to drive this further, and they started in a way to experiment, and they hire the agile coach. So what does the agile coach do?
So first of all, the agile coach will figure out, all right, what is your actual goal? Like, what do you want to achieve? That's like the most important part, because maybe Agile isn't even the right approach on what you want to achieve. If you say, all right, I want to deal with this new situation, I want to develop a product for a new market, my environment is completely uncertain, it's really complex, then the Agile coach says, all right, let's develop processes and let's build a team which can handle this uncertainty and handle this complex environment. But if the Agile coach finds out, all right, you're actually confronted with a complicated situation, the Agile coach might say, all right, I'm not the right person here. Maybe you need a lean guy.
Or a project manager, yeah.
Or project manager, yeah. Who knows, yeah. So that would be the actual first step. But if the Agile coach finds out, all right, it's necessary that that this company deals with this complex tasks. First of all, you would figure out what would be the right process to work with, and then how to build a team which can be successful.
Or modify the existing team in a way that, or separate maybe, so adjust the resources. Yeah, definitely. If you need help getting I always give the sports example. You can train yourself to run a marathon or even do Ironman. You can train it by yourself. There are thousands of resources in internet available. But if you hire a coach to train you, you will reach your goal way faster, way more efficient, and with less pain.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really, really great example, actually, because if you look into sports, if you look into football, for example, doesn't matter how good the team is, they will always have a coach on the side, which is helping them to get even better. And that's a really important part of Agile to know that you never finished your journey. It's a journey you do till the rest of your life, because there's always a way to do it better next time.
Yeah, definitely. It's a continuous improvement process. In German, in QM, it's KVP, kontinuierliche Verbesserungsprozess. But I really like this approach, because you, as a person, as a team, as an organization, as a company, as a leader, you have to develop, you have to grow all the time, because the only constant is the growth itself. Everything else changes. Therefore, I would like to wrap up with your top suggestion for Mittelstand managers or owners about Agile. So what could they do if they want to start Agile?
It's a really good question. So as I said before, it's really important to have the right mindset. I think I read online that if you they asked the people from Disney Plus or from Apple TV who their biggest competition is, and both of them said Netflix. And the CEO of Netflix said, well, our biggest competition is TikTok, because he knows he's not in the streaming business, but he's in the attention business. So where the attention
or entertainment, so to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So perfect. Entertainment is even better. Yeah. So managers should be asking themselves, what kind of business are we in? Which need are we really fulfilling? And if you don't need the answer right away, it's also a trial and error, right? And to learn more and more about the need you're actually fulfilling. And the top tip I could give is to sit down with your team once every 4 weeks and ask yourself, all right, what have we done during the last 4 weeks which didn't work out, which worked out, and what will we do differently during the next 4 weeks? And then after having this meeting, writing down some action items, writing down what you want to change, and make it measurable. So after 4 weeks, you can really say, all right, did it work out or didn't it work out? And if it didn't work out, why didn't it work out? And if you do this every 4 weeks, you start this continuous improvement process. And at one point, you're unstoppable. Because my favorite example there is if you just improve 1% per week, you're already up 52% in the end of the year. And that's incredible. That's that's a really, really big change.
Yeah, I mean, even per month, 1% and not cumulative would make 12%, which is, again, not so bad if you're an established company, which again is not so bad. And really appreciate the comment and your suggestion, Robert. I really enjoyed our conversation. One more thing before we close, how people can find you.
People can find me on LinkedIn. Robert Lüders just sent me a connection request, and I'm really glad and happy to connect.
Great. I will also put that into somewhere over here and also to the description. And yeah, Robert, thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. I really enjoyed our conversation, and have a great day.
Thank you, John. You too. Bye-bye.
Ciao.